Hello super friends and welcome to DC TV Talk, and in today's episode we're going to be breaking down and reviewing Legends of Tomorrow Season 4 Episode 9, otherwise entitled Legends of To Meow-Meow, otherwise known as the Legends of Tomorrow Season 4 mid-season finale. And if you haven't seen this episode, make sure you have, because this review will be filled with spoilers. So we are finally here at the Legends Season 4 mid-season finale. Legends has had a bit of a rocky road this season, I won't lie. Obviously, I was extremely positive about Legends of Tomorrow Season 3. I loved Season 3, and I expected Season 4 to pretty much carry on that same level of quality. However, I feel like Season 4 has been a bit of a massive letdown. And obviously with Legends of Tomorrow also not being a part of the Elseworlds crossover this year, it had its own legs to kind of stretch and do whatever it wanted for its mid-season finale. And I feel like that was actually a good thing, because not only is this the best episode of Legends this season, this might be one of my favorite episodes of Legends of all time. In this episode, I have to say, and this is, very surprising given the fact that I've criticized this character a lot this season, and that is Charlie. I actually, Charlie is kind of full front in this one. She's kind of front and center, and I think she did a really good job in this episode. She actually convinced me as to being a good character. She didn't feel overly forced. She didn't feel like she was trying to push, her character archetype like down the viewers' throats. It didn't really come across that way, which it normally does for me with Charlie, and I actually thought that she came across really well in this episode. And even though I've always liked Maisie Richardson-Seller, I think she's great. I loved her as a Maya, and I like her as an actress. I've just not been a massive fan of the character of Charlie. I think she came across very, very well in this episode, and I think this is the best we've ever seen her, and this is the best she's kind of fitted in with the team, and I feel like hopefully with this step being taken, we'll be able to see this carry on for the rest of the season. Now, of course, the story of this episode is that time was broken thanks to Constantine going back and saving Dez's life. There was basically, essentially, another Flashpoint. This is kind of like what this is. This is kind of like Flashpoint. Not quite the same, but I will say this is much, much better than the Flashpoint we got in The Flash Season 3. So, we have the first thing that's massively changed is the Legends now at this point is literally only Nate, Ray, and Mick, who are now a shoot first, ask questions later kind of ragtag group of alien monster hunters. And I thought the little intro they did with them was absolutely hilarious. The way they had, the 80s style text come up, saying, starring Dr. Ray Palmer as the Atom and things like that. I thought it was really, really funny. I think it worked really well. I think they were called the Custodians of something or other, but they were very, very funny, very entertaining. And again, just having fun with it. Like Ray was kind of dressed like Rambo, which was kind of interesting. And then you had Mick and Nate there as well. I've seen a lot of people compare Nate to one of the Winchester brothers from Supernatural. I just thought all of this stuff, the Custodians were really funny and really entertaining. And what's interesting as well is that you find out because of this timeline change, the reason why they became killers is because Sarah actually died back at Woodstock in the Season 4 premiere. The unicorn that they came across in that episode actually murdered Sarah, and that's why they turned into killers. So there is actually some backstory there, which was nice. And again, I just thought it was very entertaining to watch them do this, and the way they were having fun with it with the intro sequence, I thought was brilliant. And we also got another timeline change in this episode. I'm just kind of going through all like the main talking points, not necessarily episode, by scene. We got the Sirens of Space-Time, which is like a Charlie's Angels kind of thing. Like they even recreated like the Charlie's Angels kind of poster with the three characters of Sarah, Ava, and the human form of Gideon. So we got to see that, which was really funny. And Hank was, kind of their Charlie in a way. Hank Haywood, who was like their Charlie. It was really funny, again, just to have like this parody. I didn't actually expect them to do the Charlie's Angels thing, because when I saw the promo photos of this with Sarah, Ava, and Gideon, I was like, oh, this is going to be like, the Birds of Prey. That's what I thought they were going to do. I thought this was going to be like, the Birds of Prey for Legends of Tomorrow. But no, this was like a Charlie's Angels ripoff. And again, very, very 80s, very funny, and very entertaining as well. And bringing in Hank into that, I thought was also very good. But by far, the best part of all of this is when all of the Legends get turned into puppets. And obviously, this is really funny because I thought this was absolutely hysterical. The way Zari gets turned into a puppet and then Constantine comes onto the Wave Rider and finds Sarah, Ray, and Nate all as puppets doing the DC Puppets of Tomorrow show, I thought was absolutely comedy gold. I was laughing hysterically at this. I thought it was just a brilliant idea. And the way it all came together, it was just so entertaining. The way they were singing, the way they were voicing it, the way they were acting, and the way that Constantine simply said, "I need a drink," and they busted into a song about a drink. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. The actual lyric was really funny. you know, and it's weird because obviously I've criticized Legends this season for doing jokes over story, and I've said that the jokes have come across a bit too silly for me this season, and this is probably about as silly as ridiculous as you can get, so I don't quite understand why this works for me and other stuff doesn't. I'm still trying to figure that out, but like I've said in the past, all of these jokes that stem from this episode were because of the story. They were because Constantine broke time last episode, and they're all of consequence of that. So I think that's why this works so much better than everything else we've had this season. All of these jokes are stemming thanks to the story, and I think that's what Legends needs to focus on going forward in this season, like they did last season. Speaking of Constantine, he was fantastic in this episode once again. I really loved Matt Ryan's performance because he is the only one in this who actually remembers both timelines, because he's kind of stuck. He was in from the original timeline and now is in this new timeline. He remembers both, and it's really messing with his head. And you get to see how tortured he was becoming because of this, and I thought that was great as well. And again, seeing his conflict, the way he kind of had to go back to the location that he'd already been back to in order to kind of put it in the position where Dez was going to end up back in hell again, I thought was a nice little character turn, given the fact of what they did last episode. They're basically reversing what they did last week, and I thought, again, it worked really well, and Matt Ryan did an absolutely brilliant performance once again, as he always does. And the big final reveal of this episode, and I have to say, I'm pretty sure I brought this up last week or the week before, but I nailed this on the head. We do see that Hank is talking to somebody on the phone, and then he turns around and it's Dez. Dez is there with him, playing golf with him, and we do actually see his face turn into the face of this demon, who is, of course, Neron, I think that was his name. So yes, this demon that Constantine has been talking about this season, Neron, who took Dez and killed him, and when he was brought to hell, is actually back and appears to be the big bad for this season, and he's in the human form of Dez. So I hit the nail on the head there. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did say that Neron was going to be the villain of this season in the form of Dez, and yes, I was absolutely correct. So I was very, very happy and very pleased with myself, but also this is a very cool thing, and I like this. I like this idea because obviously Constantine is such an integral part of this season, and having the main villain so heavily linked in that way, I think is going to present some really awesome conflict, and definitely a really great sort of back half if we're going to see Constantine and this version of Neron actually interact. I think that's going to be something interesting to see, and with Matt Ryan's stellar performance this season, I think he's really going to be able to show that off even more with these scenes. Overall, though, this was an absolutely spectacular episode of Legends of Tomorrow. I thought this was brilliant. It was a great mid-season finale. Like I say, I think this is the best episode of the season. I think this is one of the best episodes of Legends. I just found it so entertaining. And this is probably the most balls-to-the-wall, incredible Legends episode they've ever done. I mean, the Season 3 finale was whack, but this is something else. This is like this is even bigger than Bebo. And Bebo doesn't even show up this season. We haven't even seen Bebo this season yet. But, we had all this stuff just, with all the stuff like the custodians, and then the sirens of space-time, and then the bloody puppets. Like, it was just so much ridiculousness, but this was the kind of ridiculousness that I love from Legends, and it was so nice to see it back on form, because again, this is what I want to see from Legends. So to see it going back to this form made me so happy. It filled me with joy, and I loved this episode. I don't have a single complaint. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. It'll help me out a lot. And share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DCTV and get them to join the community. And as always, guys, please subscribe for all of your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow. And with all that said, guys, I hope to see you again in my next video.